What's going on, Giants fans? Here with the Giants Week 1 post-game wrap-up show. As the Giants just wrapped up a 21-6 loss and a miserable showing to start off the 2025 season. And let's be real, this feels in many ways like the same old shit. I think what everybody wanted to see going into Week 1 is just competitive football. Hats off to the Commanders. They're a very good team. NFC Championship game last year. And so going into Week 1 in their house was not going to be easy. We knew that. We knew that going into this game. But what I think a lot of fans wanted to see was, A, let's see the Giants, what they look like in the trenches. And could you sustain drives? And what we witnessed was all that was still bad. The Giants looked like shit in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And it felt like, again, no matter, even when the game was a 1-2 score game, it felt like they were still losing by 3 scores. It felt like they were down by 30 points. Because you knew that this team, there's no way that they could sustain a drive. They had the one long drive that ended up in the field goal that kept them in the game for the longest time. But that same old story, we see it for years now, up front. No time to throw. They know you're not going to be, they know they're going to eat up the pass because they know you can't pass the ball. So they stuff the run. Giants didn't even get over 100 yards total offense till midway, late third quarter. And then you watch it, Russ, God, he took some shots. And he's a veteran. He's luckily for us, we have a guy like that there. But watching him take some of these shots, it was tough to watch. And even if Jackson Dart was inserted in that game, he was going to get killed. And it just pisses me off every single year that this team is handcuffed by whatever the status of Andrew Thomas is. I've put out the record before. The Giants are 3-15. The last few years without Andrew Thomas in the lineup. And so you have your number one player up front, your franchise left tackle, and when he's not there, which is the majority of the time, you're a really bad team on the offensive side of the ball. No Thomas again today. And it speaks volumes of how much they need him out there. But you just get tired of the same old situation. And of course, the offensive side of the struggles on offense, at one point the Giants had 13 plays in the red zone. 6 points to show for it. At one point, you had 7 tries, on the 5-yard line. In the goal line area. And just could not, no matter for the life of them, get the damn ball in the end zone. Whether it was miscommunication on routes, Russ being under pressure, having to throw the ball up to whoever, or getting the ball batted down. And outside of the very, very disappointing offensive line performance, you have, some of my other frustrations here were watching Theo Johnson. This is a guy that's our starting tight end, drops multiple wide open passes. Now, these weren't game-changing, massively game-changing plays. But for a type of offense that needs every little bit that they can get to stay on the field, especially when the defense needed a breather multiple times in this game, to come up with short like that was it was awful. And then, of course, the other thing that a lot of people are going to be talking about now in the media, a lot of content creators, is the situation with Malik Nabers. You get the camera shots early in the game to a very frustrated Malik Nabers, not getting his targets. And I could see the writing on the wall. I was like, wow, like this is really going to go downhill real quick. And I love Leak. He is by far, hands down, the best, maybe the best player on the Giants. But without a doubt, the best offensive player on the team. And the entire offense doesn't exist without him. And so you have to create plays for him. You have to make something happen for him. I get all that. Everybody understands that. But what a young kid like him has to understand is when Russ is on his back in, 0.2 seconds, you're not getting any targets. And so, to see the camera pan over on national television and there's Malik, having to be calmed down, very frustrated, and having to be consoled, and him and Dable get into it for a minute. Everything was cool after that. But luckily for us, we got guys like Russ and leaders like Winston on that sideline, and they can keep that under control. But for that to happen in week 1, that's a bad look. That's a bad look for him, and it's a bad look for the Giants. So, none of this was the type of game that we wanted to see. We improved in certain areas. Offensively, Russ, I don't even put this on Russ because, again, you put Jackson Dart in there today, he's under the same pressure. Washington's got a very good defense. Let's give them credit. They got a great defense. But for us as a fan base, and I hyped that up in the hype video, you wanted to see these changes. These are things that you've been looking forward to all summer long. And it is, again, a teaching lesson for myself and other fans, again, not to get too hyped up with the preseason. A 3-0 Giants team that put up more than 30 points every single game. And you come out in week 1 and you look like you don't even belong in the same league offensively as the Redskins, the Commanders, whatever they are. One of the bright spots, 2 bright spots, I think, for me offensively, if there is any. I did like what we were doing early on with Wan'Dale. He's the kind of player that's the way he should be used. I think Russ obviously sees that, wants to untap that potential. I like the way they were getting him involved. And it's frustrating because the Giants tend to do this. It's like when something works, they go away from it. In other teams, they'll keep pounding it. They don't care. How many times did you see the Commanders do the same shit to Ertz or Debo? Because it worked. And every time it's like the Giants see something that works, like, well, we want to stop doing that. Let's just keep running the ball up the fucking middle for an hour and a half. Finally figured that out in the third quarter. That wasn't working. Now let's take that outside. Those are frustrating things to watch. But I liked how Wan'Dale was being used. And the other one is, look, Cam Scadaboo didn't put up any numbers to write home about. But, man, when he got the ball, it was electric. The guy doesn't want to go down. He's killing everybody. Taking things head on. Exactly what, was advertised, the kind of player that we wanted to see. So, 2 things like that, I like to see that. I like to see something positive on that offense. But there wasn't much. There just wasn't much. It was awful. And then to make matters worse, everybody's going to be talking about this offensive shit show. And then, of course, you see what's going on around the league. There's Daniel Jones. First game in Indy, having almost a career day out there, just lighting it up. Lighting it up because he don't play behind this offensive line. That is a massive indictment. And it's, look, it's bigger than the offensive line. A lot of time, I'm just not, the play calling is uninspiring at times. Just a rough start. And beyond a rough start, it's a frustrating start because these were things that you needed to see, some kind of semblance of heading in the right direction. And it certainly did not look that way right out of the gates. On the defensive side of the ball, the pass rush, slow start at first. Jaden Daniels looked like he was going to kill them all game on his feet. But they got there. Burns had 2 sacks. I know Carter and a couple other guys got in on the other one. Giants ended up getting the pressure on him. And for a while there in the second quarter, end of the second quarter, into the third quarter, the Commanders had 4 straight punts. Giants defense looked like, we're going to keep you into this game. But again, you knew the offense wasn't going to do shit with it. So, you lose McFadden early on. That was a huge blow. No excuses, but that was a huge blow. And the gashing of that defense, the run defense, the trenches, it's just so pathetic. The Commanders were getting, it felt like 6 yards a carry. Every time they ran the ball, it was second and short. And one of the most frustrating things to watch happened over and over in this game. Whether it was a penalty or pressure, Giants would get the Commanders in a second or third and forever, and they'd pick it up. You cannot have that. So, defensively, I like the fact that we saw a glimpse of that pressure with 3 sacks. But outside of that, not much to write home about again. Cordell Flott got exposed a lot of times today. I guess one of the only things was the Commanders got way more penalties than the Giants. Giants looked like the more disciplined team. They didn't capitalize on a lot of that, so it doesn't really matter. It's a tough one because there's not a lot to say. There's not a lot of positives to go away from week 1. We all went into this week so ready for this. So ready to see something different. On a personal note, I gave every bit of energy that I had for the hype video because these are things that I believe. I don't say it to create a show. So to sit here today after rallying a fan base to rally them to see this, that is very irritating. Pisses me off, and I take it personal. Week 1 has just forever been a disaster for this team. It's long before Dable got here. And I don't know how much more. I mean, I don't want to the preseason, but you start out 3-0 and you win the, preseason Super Bowl. And to come out and look like the same old Giants, that is just a gut punch. It is, right? It's a kick in the nuts. But like I've said today to other fans, this is a long season. We're going to have a lot of these ups and downs. As bad as we wanted to see at least competitive football today, it's the first game of the season. The Giants were not ready to compete on this level with a team that went to the NFC Championship game. Really not a big surprise. But going forward, got a long season to go, and you cannot be repeating these same mistakes over and over again. In 7 days, they're going to go down to Dallas. And now you have week 2 where you have 2 desperate teams. The Cowboys and the Giants, 0-1 in the standings, already 0-1 in the division. And something's got to give on next Sunday. Somebody's going to start 0-2 in both the standings and the division and really going uphill. And for the Giants, if you're 0-2, then you're waiting to come home to have your home opener against the Chiefs. It's not going to get any easier for the Giants. We're in this now. We're in the trenches now. Dable has his hands full this week to get this team ready for Dallas because there's a lot to look at. There's a lot of film to go over and a lot of fuck-ups. And a lot of coaching up that's got to be done. But hopefully on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line, Thomas, he's got to get back on the field. That's a guy that has to play. And hopefully coming out of this game, the Giants don't drop any more guys on the injury report. Because going into Dallas, you got to be all hands on deck. Critical game coming up this Sunday. Giants, unfortunately, start the season 0-1. But if you've been here for years, or no matter how long you've been here, if you know the motto here, we're not giving in. Not going to give an inch. This was a tough, tough loss. I took this one personally. I take it right on the chin. But I can take a punch. And this team can take a punch. Not going to sit here and cry about it. Not going to sit here and I'll take this L today as a fan, and the team, will franchise, and I'll take this L today. But after today, it's all focuses on Dallas. So I know as a base, we wanted this one. We wanted to start off the season on a positive note, but we do not. Unfortunately, the Giants dropped this one 21-6 in a lifeless game in Washington. And the start of the 2025 season is underway. We have football. You look around the rest of the league, there were some surprises and some teams that starting off hot won't be here at the end of the year. It's week 1. These things go in increments. Every month it seems to be different in the National Football League. But this New York Giants team cannot start a season 0-2. Cannot have it happen. So with that, there's a lot of content still coming out this week from me. I have if you're a fan of my reaction videos, I guess I'll make one. I have it recorded. There's not a lot to react to. It's a very small video if I do put it out. So I guess fans, let me know if you want me to put it out. And then we're going to have a pregame show for a podcast for the Dallas game. And then I'll be back with the hype video. We're not going anywhere with those. So all week long, content dropping right here. You know where to find me. At YouTube and Facebook at Mr. Chuck Knoxx, and of course on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Chuck Knoxx. But I will be here all week. Let me know. We'll vent about this all week, and I'm not going anywhere. You'll be hearing from me throughout the rest of the week. And till then, Giants fans, keep your head up. We'll be back for this fight.